Hi, this is Terry Farrell, Dax from Deep Space Nine, and welcome to Random Trek.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to an animated episode of Random Trek. I am your cel-shaded Captain Christopher Ingle, joined as always by my anime-inspired first officer, Brennan, the Mystical Mar. Brennan, are we going on an animated adventure today?
Well, hopefully I look better in 70s animation than they did.
Yeah. Never looks good, but maybe today we'll have a better episode because today we have actually 4 episodes to cover. So we are going to cover them fairly quickly, but we are going to cover them. So first off today, we have the original animated series, episode 13, season 1, the Ambergris element. And then we are going to move to Lower Decks because we love Lower Decks so much. Season 4's finale, the finale that ended the last before new ones come out. End of this month, I think. We have new ones coming out end of this month.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Old Friends, New Planets, and then the 2-part season premiere of season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy Into the Breach. We have got a full animated lineup today, but why don't we start out with the oldest one here, and that's the Ambergris element. Brendan, when I hear Ambergris, I wince a little bit. How about you?
I just finished reading Moby Dick, and they mentioned that a few times.
Yeah, it's interesting that they use that. So this is an aquatic adventure for the Enterprise, a rare moment. So in this episode, the crew lands on the water in an aquatic shuttle, and comes under attack from this giant, kind of half serpent, half kraken looking thing they call a sursnake. They fire on the creature, and Kirk orders the shuttle to submerge so they can scan it and take a look at it before it's too late and the stun wears off.
However, is on the planet Argo, by the way.
Yeah, it is the planet Argo, not to be confused with the Argo aboard the Enterprise E.
Oh.
Although I think there's a connection there. I'll talk about that later. The creature kind of gets back to it and begins its attack. Kirk calls the ship and says, Scotty, beam them up. But the shuttle gets grabbed and thrown against the rocks. Lieutenant Clayton and Dr. McCoy are thrown clear. They fall into the water.
Ensign Ricky,
yeah. But Kirk and Spock are left in the shuttle and disappear as it's being pulled deeper by this creature. So McCoy, Scott, and Lieutenant Clayton, they go back down and they go looking for the Enterprise for days, or for Kirk and Spock for days. And they finally find them and the missing shuttle, but Kirk and Spock can't breathe on land. They can only breathe in water. Interestingly, they have some mutation. So they're beamed back aboard where McCoy puts them into a water tank where they can breathe. And they can't figure out why these mutations have happened. So Kirk and Spock say, look, send us back. We'll go underwater. We'll find out what did this. Something has to have intelligent life down here in order to do this. So they go back searching. And they come basically across these creatures called the Aquans, who are, we'll call them mer people. They're not mer people, but they're mer people. They are the inhabitants of this place. And the young ones of this species did this to Kirk and Spock against the wishes of the elders.
Against the doctrines of their culture.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what they determine is that this society came down there and kind of adapted to all of this. They were looking for a civilization up above, but they didn't find anything. They believe that they adapted and evolved or used this technology, the same thing that affected them, to live underwater safely. So they come across a young lady, Rila, who agrees to help them, but you've got to find this ancient city whose archives might find a way to reverse the mutation that has affected Kirk and Spock. They've discovered that the substance in their bloodstream is similar to ambergris. So the reverse mutation basically is induced by this antitoxin made from the venom of a deadly sursnake. But the sursnakes are sacred. They're not supposed to be touched. So the Aquans decide to help them. However, in the process, Kirk almost dies from this vaccination. But as this happens, because this is only a 20-minute cartoon, he doesn't. He does revert back. In the end, the Enterprise uses its phasers to blast kind of the uninhabited spots of the planet in an attempt to move this quake that is about to happen that could destroy the Aquan civilization. And they do manage to prevent serious catastrophic damage from occurring. Grateful for saving their lives, the younger Aquans make the ancient records available to the Enterprise and the Federation. And they decide to use newfound medicines and technology to become air breathers themselves, kind of reverse engineering what was done so they can move on. Kirk says, please don't lose contact with us or your ancestors. And the elders declare they're going to pass ordinances that would forbid it. And this time they're not going to ignore them. So what did you think of this one, Brennan? This is kind of a weird one. I loved seeing Kirk and Spock in a completely different environment. How about you?
That was kind of cool. I mean, it's got that very much that Planet of the Apes kind of. What if I didn't go to this location? This is classic Star Trek in the sense of our laws say that we can't do this. Of course, the Enterprise shows up and forces them to confront the truth.
Yeah. One of the things that I really liked right off the bat for this was the Aqua Shuttle.
No, that was cool.
The introduction to that is really cool. And I think there was a connection. So the planet is named Argo. And as I referenced, the four-wheel drive machine, the off-roader on the Enterprise E is also called, and the shuttle too. The shuttle is also called the Argo. I wonder if there is a loose connection between this new vehicle and the first time that we ever saw a new vehicle being used besides a standard shuttlecraft. This is a submarine, essentially, but created by the Federation. So I wonder if there's not a connection between those two. Just a little thing. Can't confirm it, but it's an interesting thought.
But otherwise, as usually happens with the original animated series, it's really not that memorable.
Yeah. I actually liked this one. It was different. It was nice to not be, we're going to meet Alien of the Week, they're going to destroy it. This was different. Kirk and Spock have got to deal with a problem right away. How are they going to get out of it? I was with it. And it was only 20 minutes, so I didn't feel slighted.
Yeah, I didn't feel slighted. I felt, I think coming away from this episode going, well, okay, that's another episode of the animated series.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the nature of it, but in general, I liked it. I've seen so many worse in this
That's true.
This series. This really isn't that bad. It's kind of fun. And seeing them deal with the problems of what are we going to do. And this does feel like a Star Trek problem that would happen. And I really like it. I guess we can differ on this, but I enjoyed it. All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll go from old to new. Not the newest, but until later this month, it is the newest episode of Lower Decks. Season 4, episode 10, Old Friends, New Planets. This one is an interesting one. I really liked this one. So,
me too.
In the episode before this, we find out that who has been all season long, who has been taking all these ships that look like they were destroyed, but none other than former Starfleet cadet Nicholas Locarno, played perfectly by Robert Duncan. It's Duncan McNeil, right?
Yep, and
Yep,
he's
Robert
not
Duncan
Tom
McNeil.
Paris.
He's not Tom Paris, but funny. They look an awful lot alike. I don't see it.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
But no, this one is a lot of fun. Right away, it really gets into it. So Locarno broadcasts a message out and explains that he's formed a new fleet with a mutinous crew, and is going to use a Genesis device if they are not legitimized as an organization and group.
A Genesis device pilfered from the Ferengi.
Ferengi, yeah, we'll get to that. Locarno kidnaps Mariner, believing she would join him because of her own issues with Starfleet. And we find out too that Mariner was at Starfleet Academy. Actually, we found this out earlier this season, but she was at Starfleet Academy when first duty was happening.
Yes, the infamous disaster.
Yeah, so actually this gives us a better idea about how long she has actually been in Starfleet. And how she stayed, I have no idea. But
I wonder about that.
that's, well, when you nepotism. Nepotism. Dad's an admiral, mom's a captain.
Yes, and the first duty, I mean, just the connection there is pretty cool because that's one of the best Wesley Crusher episodes of Star
It really
Trek.
is, yeah. And they all returned. All four of them returned to do voices for that episode. But that's not in this episode. But it was a nice callback to all of that.
Yeah.
So believing, Mariner would be a sympathetic, he kidnaps her, but she instead manages to warn all the viewers, don't trust Locarno, he's a liar, and she steals the Genesis device and escapes in a ship. So Freeman defies orders from Starfleet and goes to rescue Mariner on her own, with actually an inoperable battleship that they were working on, that were provided by the Dierica. It's on the condition that Dierica, if you remember, is the sister of Tendi. And the deal is that
they go to the Orion homeworld and
right.
basically ask for a favor.
Right. And she says, yes, I will help you if you return to me, Tendi.
Yeah.
And Tendi's like, all right, I'll do it. I'll give you that which you want. So Boimler kind of serving as active captain on the Cerritos. Great moment for Boimler. He uses the tractor beam to crash the battleship into Locarno's shields, which allows Freeman to get in the captain's yacht.
And he built a shield around the entire solar system.
So Mariner kind of plays a gambit. She sets the device and activates it and pleads to Locarno, please don't get angry over this. You can get beyond this. He refuses. And Freeman transport Mariner away. Locarno knows the codes and he's going to go deactivate it, except it is a Ferengi device. And so for the codes to work, it's hidden behind a paywall.
Yes.
That's part of this whole thing.
And then in a Star Trek 2 moment.
Yes, and it blows
another Genesis
up,
planet.
creating a new yes. Creates a new Genesis planet, and the surrounding manor, Starfleet names it Locarno. Mariner admits her struggles to her friends, and they become closer. T'Lyn decides to stay with the crew and not go back to the Cheval, but Tendi has to leave, and she does. That is where it ends. Our friends are broken up over this. This was an interesting way to end the season. Each of our characters really gets a moment, and I enjoy this so much. What do we think of, because it's mainly focused around Mariner? I would say that's fair. What do we see about Mariner playing the hero in the end?
Well, I think that, through all of Mariner's rule breaking and disrespect and all of her troublemaking ways in her heart, she really is a Starfleet officer, true and true.
Yep. Yeah, she's an honest person. She'll mess herself up, but she won't mess everyone else up. You know, she reminds me of, did you ever see the comedy Down Periscope? It's a Kelsey Grammer 1996, 97 comedy, 96, something like that, where Kelsey Grammer is a lieutenant commander for the U.S. Navy aboard he's a second in command. Or no, not, excuse me. He's a second officer, not the first officer, but he's like Data. And
We have lost our intrepid captain. His signal seems to have gone stuck, as it were.
testing.
Oh, yep. Your signal broke up for a minute there.
Ooh, that was scary. Okay, I'll keep it long story short. They
Yes.
probably didn't like my story. Anyway, the point is that he gets this lieutenant, the lieutenant played by Kelsey Grammer, gets this ragtag crew, and he's got to take a World War II diesel sub, and prove that diesel subs are still a threat. They are still a threat. It's a weird, but it's a comedy. Anyway, long story short, it's this ragtag crew that he has. And this crew, this episode reminds me of that, about the crazy antics they will go to succeed. And there's one character who the whole thing, he wants out of the Navy. No problem, wants out. And during a maneuver, if he says one word, he'll give away the position to the crew. And after they escape this harrowing moment, he comes up to him and says, Mr. Stepanek, that was your opportunity to ruin everything. Why didn't you do it? You would have been kicked out. He's like, no, I'm only out to screw myself, sir, not the entire crew. Mariner is that way. Mariner is out to get rid of everything herself, but not hurt her friends, not hurt her crew. Her crew, her mom, they matter to her.
They do. They do indeed.
That was the point of that whole thing. Anyway, that diatribe. But I love Mariner in this. And then Boimler finally gets his dream.
Yes, he does.
And he does it well. He doesn't mess it up.
He's basically doing John Cho as Sulu in Star Trek Beyond, taking the helm.
And he does a good job. Great job. Yeah. Everybody in this episode, and then Tendi sacrificing herself to save everyone. It's just these characters have become such a tight-knit group, and I'm really sad that season 5 will be the last, but I'm looking forward to season 5 coming up and where this goes.
Yes, I am too, and I love that Nicholas Locarno has returned.
Yep. You know, it's almost been a year.
More trouble.
It has almost been a year since last season.
It's
already gone so fast. I'm like, I can't believe that.
But to have Nick Locarno come back makes all the sense in the world. Because I can imagine that he would have some pretty sore feelings towards Starfleet after the events of the first duty.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was cool that the voice actress the actress who played Cedar Jackson got to come back, in addition to Rosalind Duncan McNeil. Well, looks like our Captain Navy throws him, but the point is, I was going to say that Nicholas Locarno was played by Rosalind Duncan McNeil. There we go. Our Captain is that guy. There must be a subspace thing going on here.
Okay,
but I was saying that it was cool that the actress who played Cedar Jackson got to come back, in addition to Rosalind Duncan McNeil, who reprised their roles they played years ago. In fact, roles they played 30 years ago. Crazy.
Yep. Well, since we're having communication issues, let's get through Prodigy here, because it is a
basically,
two-parter.
this episode of Lower Decks is great.
It's great. This whole season, it's a great season. Highly recommend it.
It is.
And now to Prodigy, the start of the new season, which we got to see this summer. So it takes place a year after the events of season 1. So the year later, Janeway recruits Dal, Rocktalk, Jenkins-Pog, Murph, and Zero to go aboard the Voyager-A. The Voyager-A.
Such a beautiful ship.
Oh yeah. They're very excited. We're introduced to the Doctor, the EMH again. Robert Picardo
Reintroduced. Yep.
reintroduced. Yes. They're
Got to
very
meet a few weeks ago.
yeah. You did. I have heard that.
I got to meet him a few weeks ago. Yes.
If you listen to the start of these, there are a few Star Trek people who say hi and introduce our show now.
Yeah,
And it's
which I
nice.
recorded at GalaxyCon.
I know. But anyway, so the recruits are really excited, but they become disillusioned because as cadets, they don't get to work directly with Janeway, which is what they want to do. And Nova Squadron, we've seen that before too.
Oh.
Let's tie it back together to First Duty. Nova Squadron is aboard as well. They are an elite fighter pilot squad that has been reformed. And it's led by a young Vulcan named Majel. That doesn't have any connection.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But after some spying, the cadets discover that Janeway is mounting a secret mission to find Chakotay with a new ship known as the Infinity.
Because they found the wormhole that Chakotay disappeared into.
Yep. Janeway swears the cadets to secrecy. However, Majel overhears Dahl talking about it and tries to stop the cadets from moving the Infinity because basically the mission's going to be scrapped by Admiral Jellicoe.
Oh, go figure.
A little mad at him for that. But during kind of the kerfuffle, the craft is accidentally activated and sent into the wormhole prematurely. Now, during this, Gwyn is off on her own exploration to try to go to Solum in the current time, which for all intents and purposes is the past. Complicated, but future Solum is where the problems
happen.
More
complicated.
Yeah. So if she can go and stop things now, maybe none of it would ever happen. That's what the thought is. She makes it to Solum, but discovers that Essentia, the villain from last season, has manipulated the leaders into believing that Gwen is a threat because she is created. She was not born. She is not part of the Golnakat themselves. They order to capture. Gwen manages to escape, and she reunites with an Ithurian who saves her. It's the Diviner's younger self.
Yep, before he was a nasty guy.
Yep. And that's kind of how this episode, it is a two-parter, but it's really meant to reintroduce us and to kind of set up the plot for this season. What'd you think of this one?
It's good stuff. I mean, the Star Trek Prodigy is, I call it the Star Wars Rebels of Star Trek, in that when it starts out, you think, oh, it's probably not going to be for me, it's probably going to be for young kids. And then when you get into it, you go, wait a minute, this is some seriously good Star Trek. And this is great. I love seeing the Voyager-A. Always great to see more of Captain Janeway, and our medical officer who's played by Jason Alexander, which I thought is great. The return of Robert Picardo as the Doctor.
Yep.
Getting to see that they have cetacean ops, which is really cool. Yeah, they humpback whale living in a starship.
Yes, cetacean ops.
Named Jillian, who I'm assuming is a descendant of George and Gracie, I'm assuming.
I thought so too.
I love the design of Solum. I love the Volnicott. I have almost an elven look to them. It's like elves or something, and I like that. Go figure that Essentia is up to something.
Well, with some of these characters, I want to mention too, Bob Picardo, when this came out, it was announced shortly after that Bob Picardo, this would not be his last run of the EMH, as the EMH is now a main character in the now filming, I believe, Starfleet Academy series taking place in the future that Discovery left us, including Tig Notaro as well. Will also be joining us.
More of Reno giving us her.
I just found out that she's a stand-up comedian. I had no idea.
I didn't know that either until after I started watching Discovery.
Also returning Mary Wiseman, Oded Fair, and starring as a captain, Holly Hunter.
Yes.
I love this.
Oh, yes.
So no, just a small connection into Prodigy and getting to see these legacy characters come on, and of course, getting to see again the Admiral, who I stuck up for in our holiday special, making mistakes. I'm sad about that.
Oh, Jellicoe. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, but all that being said, I love the sense of teamwork and that these kids at the end of the day are loyal to Janeway. They don't understand yet being Starfleet officers, you need to listen. And there's a time to step out of line, and they do it too much.
And it's really cool though that Janeway's like got some secret mission that she's not telling people about.
Yeah.
I love that we had John Noble, as the diviner, only
Mm-hmm.
he's the non-evil version of the diviner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful start to the season,
Mm-hmm.
and it really sets up a really fascinating story. And I think that season 2 of Prodigy is one of the great seasons of Star Trek, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I got to talk about Michaela Dietz just for a second. She is the voice of Majel. I love her so much. Vulcans can go one way or another.
Mhm.
And it isn't always Spock or otherwise. But in this, what I really love about her is there is personality there. She's a young Vulcan, very young. And I love the little bits of human that are there that they let her have.
Yeah.
And I think those choices are absolutely great. She's a fabulous actress. And I really like her. I really hope we get a season 3 that we don't know if there will be or won't be.
Yeah, I know that Kate Mulgrew wants a season 3 for
A
sure.
lot of them do. And there's this big run. If all we get is 3 seasons, I would be very happy.
It'd be interesting to know where they go next. That'd be interesting.
I don't know.
Season 2 of Prodigy is so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
what story do they tell in season 3?
You probably go back into the Delta Quadrant if I had my way about it. Go back into the Delta Quadrant. I don't know. There's so much to do there, but that's where I think you would go. Yeah. Explore. That's what you would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like her. She was a great addition to this cast.
Yeah, I agree. I think she fits right in with the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Great addition.
And great stuff. And by the way, I love the design of Zero's suit.
Yeah. The stuff they do with Zero in this season is awesome.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So good. And we'll get to those down the lines, but he, in my personal opinion, probably has the most obvious and biggest character growth and change, and I love it.
Yeah, Dahl is basically being Dahl, and
Dahl is Dahl, and we know what's going to happen there. Him and Gwendala, but his stuff in the middle was so good and unexpected. I was not expecting what happened. So. Yeah, a great way to start it. I loved it. Great two-parter. Highly recommend. The whole series. Please, if we want to see a season 3, go watch season 2 on Netflix. The more people watch it, the more Netflix will want to reboot it or renew it.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Well, coming up, what we got coming up here, we're in the beginning of spooky season here. I love spooky season. But a really spooky thing happens this coming week. It's our first officer's birthday.
Yes.
And so the reason why it's spooky is because I'm giving control of what we review next over to him. I have no idea what he's going to pick. He has not told me. He's not said anything. So I'm leaving it up to him. Whatever next week, and it can be out of order. Next week, normally we would watch Picard. It doesn't have to be. He can pick whatever he wants.
Oh boy, this is a tough one.
It is a lot of great episodes we haven't that I know you've talked about wanting to do.
I think that we continue with our current slate.
Okay.
But have one other episode of the card be one of the season 3 episodes.
I think we could pull that.
So I don't really have. I have episodes that I like a lot, but I don't really have one in particular that I'm requesting other than a season 3 Picard episode.
I can do that. All right. So let's limit it to season 3. All right. I'm putting it into our computer now.
Here we go.
All right. All right. Okay. Season 3, episode 3, 17 seconds. This is the one where the Titan is attempting to outmaneuver and beat Vatic the first time. And this stuff is good. And Raffi and Worf uncover a plot together.
Yes. Alrighty.
Is this the one with the chamomile tea?
We shall see.
Yes. All right. So 17 seconds. Brennan, where can the people find you?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Brennan Mystical. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at Brennan Blue. And you can find my podcast, Page Turners They Were Not, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And under Page Turners They Were Not, you will find Random Trek.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at CIngle1984. I need to learn how to say happy birthday in Klingon.
I don't know if the other words are happy.
Joyous birthday. Glory.
I don't even know if the other words are joyous.
Glory to the House of Mar.
Okay, well, maybe they were.
I forget. What's your dad's name?
Yes.
I was like, to Brennan, son of.
Jeff.
Jeff. Brennan, son of Jeff. House of Mar. All right.
Yep.
But as always, we had every episode. Kaplach, and live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.